Hello, I'm Colin Burwell, and I live in Southern Ontario, Canada, and this year I started my own garden in my backyard.
March 21st, 2012.
It's about 200 square feet, and before I started it, I had no gardening knowledge, but I was still able to get an incredible harvest. I like to share just a bit about my experience and some very simple things that you can also do to start your own garden in the backyard. The guts of what I really needed to know, since I was starting my garden from seed, was I needed to know if I was starting the seeds inside or outside, and what month to start them in. That's all I needed to know to get started. I tried corn, beans, peas, peppers, tomatoes, carrots, radishes, potatoes, and that's it. So a lot of things. It's true I had to think kind of logically about what I would plant and where. I have about a 200 square foot garden, which seems huge. So I decided like beans are going here, like corn's going here, and I kind of drew out the lines about where it was gonna go. And really I was just guessing for a lot of it. I had no idea how much I would get from one crop versus another. So I definitely learned a lot over this process.
My paths helped divide up the garden too. Know what I'm growing and where. There's some space to walk to, so I can keep them really dense in there, not waste any real space. Tomato plants going back here, there, and there.
So I learned which seeds I ordered that needed to be started inside versus ones that needed to be started outside. Tomatoes are a very popular Southern Ontario vegetable/fruit to grow, which can be started indoors. And I learned that starting tomatoes can happen in late March.
It's April 6th, and these are my tomato plants.
So that they can grow huge before you take them outside when the weather is really warm. The backbone to me starting seeds was this, my seed starting kit, which I got off of Craigslist for about $20. What it is, it's got this fancy little lid to it, and it's got a whole bunch of little mini cells inside that are probably about 3 inches deep. It also comes with a bit of plastic, a thin heating pad that just plugs into a wall. You can buy a timer for it. I didn't, I just plugged it and unplugged it just when I remembered. But it gives it just enough heat to remind the soil that perhaps it's a bit warmer than it actually is. The lid gets all kind of condensation droplets on the inside, so when you can flick the top of it and all the water can fall back inside so that it's kind of watering itself. The seeds sprout quickly as well. I'd say about 2, maybe 3 days for some plants. Get a small little baby plants, and then you can watch it grow to a couple inches. And it's fascinating because they like growing towards the window, so they all kind of grow on an angle. There's definitely a key time that you need to take out the seedling and put it into a small pot. I discovered that the plant can stunt its growth if you just let it sit there for too long. I bought an insane amount of small pots like this, very small in various sizes, and I probably have about 50 of them because you don't have all of your seedlings going at the same time, but you're going to need probably more than you think. You may think that you can save a bit of space and put 2 seedlings inside the same pot, but I recommend against it. It'll definitely hurt the plant long term. Every plant gets its own pot.
It's April 3rd, 2012, and today I'm gonna plant some carrots. Crazy. It's like a neighborhood's worth of carrots right here.
When I was moving the plants from the pot into the garden, I transplanted them in a similar way that I did from the seed starting kit into the pot. Be very careful with it, the roots are still rather fragile.
Plant my tomatoes.
Have your hole pre-dug. There's fertilizers and stuff that you can use to make sure that your plants grow efficiently and as best as they can. I didn't read so much into that, so I don't really know a whole lot about that. Suffice to say that if you don't do that, your plants will still grow.
It's May 8th, 2012, and with the planting of these tomatoes, I hereby declare gardening season to be on.
So the vast majority of the work that you're doing for your garden is between late March and June, say, between your seed starting and your seed buying and your cultivating and your transplanting into pots and then you're transplanting out of pots into your garden. And then after everything's in the garden, you just gotta water it. I sprinkle some eggshells on the garden. I don't really know what that does, but I've heard that it's a good thing. I just watered my gardens. I gave it lots of TLC. The weeding only needs to happen, say, for the first month or so of the garden while things are really getting a lot of life and a lot of height to them. Very satisfying growing your own garden because you learn a lot just right in front of you, right? You learn every day. I learned that some plants like climbing on things. They've got these little fingers like cucumbers and peas. They like holding on to things, which is great because every day your garden is just a little bit different. Some of the vegetables you'll get will be really weird looking, which is also encouraging, I think. It reminds you that the food that you buy in the grocery store perhaps isn't as normal as you think it is. That carrots sometimes do have these weird like double ends, or tomatoes look like wrinkly old tomatoes, but they're perfectly fine. And that's what vegetables kind of do look like. So it felt very good to be able to make those sorts of vegetables, and they look all weird, but they taste even better than what you would buy at the grocery store. I learned a whole lot after the first year of gardening. I learned that some vegetables produce more vegetables than others. I burned through my potatoes. I had about 2 shoeboxes of potatoes that went like that because they were fantastic. The carrots also unfortunately got a bit spoiled because I didn't preserve them well enough, so I'm still learning about that. I didn't know much about the difference between starting any of them when I first started this project, and now I know quite a bit just by getting my hands in the dirt, trying some things, and walking out to my garden every day and just seeing how things grow. The more you talk about gardening, the more you realize that other people do it in the backyards as well, and they've all got stories and experiences, and perhaps they're overrun with a particular vegetable that you can trade them for your overrun vegetable, and it's what community gardening is all about. So it's very possible for you to start your own garden with very minimal amounts of information. All you need is dirt, water, some seeds, a southern window to start your seeds inside. So go take a stab. It's 21st century, the sort of thing that's going to be happening more and more often. And do you want to be ahead of the curve or behind the curve? Good luck.